Okay guys, I'm about to drill out this joist. This is my, let's get it the right way around, my Armeg kit. Now, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I've got absolutely no interest in sponsoring products just because somebody's given them to me or anything like that. I've actually paid money for this. I've had this set for, it's got to be going on 3 years. I absolutely love it. The, the drill bits are good quality. Hexagonal bases as well, so they fit into um, just a cordless screwdriver or impact driver. Um, Obviously, they then don't spin when you put them in a chuck. You've got these high-speed masonry bits as well that can also be used in a impact driver. So everything in here can be used in an impact driver. Now these are an absolute godsend. These Accelerate Armeg HSS, plate steel hole saws are incredible. The old days of having a Starrett hole saw and the hole actually being bigger than than the hole saw started off as, is no more. These cut through it again and again and again. And like I say, these sets are about 3 years old. I don't know if you can really see that, but the teeth are still good. They've got lots of good use. There's my 20mm. That probably gets used the most. Still sharp, still good. Um, absolutely amazing. These are the stubby wood beavers that are nail proof, and again, they get into tight spaces. If you hit a nail, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend doing it too often. And then this is a godsend as well, this extension piece. For the amount of times that I've used that to drill through one hole, so for instance, it's probably a bit difficult to show it here because the joists are so far apart, but it locks in place. And if I was drilling through one joist, so through this joist here, and these two joists were closer together, this is, I could keep drilling through the next joist if they were quite close together, and that saves extra floorboards being up or anything like that. And again, absolute godsend. I don't know how I ever got on without it before. So it's not because I get anything from Armeg. If anyone created anything that was any good, I'd be recommending that as well. That's all I care about, is getting good quality equipment into your hands, guys. So this is what I use. I won't use anything else unless something better comes out, obviously. And until then, this is my go-to kit. So I'm about to drill holes in these joists. We've assessed. Let me grab this sheet off of here and bring it over. So I've got 165mm joists. So there's 150 by 50s. I don't know if you can see that there. So the biggest hole that I can put into this, if they were 150 joists, was 37.5. I think if I do the calculation, where's my phone? Let me just bring that up. So calculator, page 81, I think it was in the on-site guide. Just check. So page 81. Maximum hole diameter should be 0.25 of the joist depth. So 0.25, and these are 165mm joists. So maximum hole size is 41.25mm. There's no way I'm going to drill that out. That's the maximum I could go to. Personally, I don't feel comfortable taking that much out of a joist. That's my choice. But I do believe in taking the maximum size that you can, because sod's law. Every time you drill, you think, right, I've only got two 2.5s to go through there on a 1.5 or something, and you think, oh, I'll drill a 20mm hole. You can guarantee further down the line you'll need to get another cable through there, and what's the point in struggling? You might as well drill a 25mm hole, and that allows for eventualities. If I wanted to drill another 25mm hole next to that, it would have to be 3 diameters away. So that would have to be 75mm away from the original hole. Yeah, so holes in the same joist. So note E, holes in the same joist on page 81 I'm looking at the bottom here. So note E, holes in the same joist should be at least 3 diameters apart. So if I'm drilling a 25mm hole, I need to be 75mm away from that. Okay. So let's get this set up. Again, drill wise, guys, I love Festool. I like the way it's built. I like the quality. I like the fact. I'm pretty sure it comes with 3-year anti-theft warranty when you buy it, or something ridiculous like that. I remember reading. Again, I'm sure everyone will correct me if I'm wrong. But the thing I love about this drill, you've got 4 speed settings, hammer option if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. It absolutely whines. So if you're going to use the hammer drill on this, you need ear defenders, because honestly, it burns a hole through your brain. But the reason I bought this is I can take that chuck off, and it comes, if you buy the full kit, it comes with this angle drill, and that angle drill fits on this. And I don't know if you can see that there's these little grooves here which match up with the grooves here on the actual angle bit, and I can move that round, and I can pick, it says I can pick any angle to fit that into. So there, there, 90 degrees, perfect. Stick the chuck back on again. There you go, angle drill. And this has got enough grunt to get a 25mm auger bit through a 50mm joist. So I'm going to be drilling 25mm holes. Let me just swap the bit over because there's a 20 in there at the moment. We'll get that in there. Get that up tight. Now, when you're doing this, I'm just going to drill one hole just to get this right the way across here. If I was doing this for real, I would have either pinged a line across here in my chalk line, or set up the laser level from one end to the other, and then I would be using that line all the way across, so that all my holes they line up to create a line of sight right the way through the middle. And in fact, I'll probably have to draw it out or sort of show you. So what I'm doing is I'm aiming for the center of the joist. Grab my pencil. So 165. So 82.5. Sort of mark that in. Probably want to start off a bit further this way actually. So 82.5. I then line that up with the centre of the joist, get it started. Now, when I'm doing this, I always come in behind the drill. Alright, so I should probably get myself to something to stand on. Hang on guys, let me just get myself something to stand on. Health and safety and all that. Again, there's not a lot to be standing on up here, and there's not a lot of space, so I had to choose between having joists exposed to be able to show you what was going on, or really struggling to show you the content, if I'm honest with you. And I kind of went for showing you the stuff rather than having the floor down, because I mean this is literally just 2.5 meters wide, and that must be about just under 3 meters long, and it's not very high either. So again, look, here we go. There's a key thing here. Let's say this is a floorboard. This is now in the way where I've moved it over. The beauty of having an angled bit is I can now tuck that underneath here in the original hole, and I'm offset. You probably can't see that from there. Let me move the camera, and then you'll be able to see better. less. How's that? I think you can kind of just about, yeah. Let's try that. Okay. Right. So, hopefully you can see here. Let's pretend this is behind, underneath the joist. I can get this in over this side, and you can see the actual hole that I'm drilling is directly below this joist here. This floorboard. It's directly below that, actually sort of tucked underneath. The beauty of having this angle bit is actually, if I put this way around, you can see that I can put that quite a way. So the length of that, which is to that trigger, I mean that is about 120 millimeters from the trigger to the center of this drill. So I can get underneath here that distance. So I'm actually drilling right over here somewhere, without having to get more floorboards up, which is fantastic. I mean, for the sake of getting one floorboard up, you can drill multiple holes and you change the angle, you know, and sort of just move the drill to get all the way along there. But you know, so what you want to do is you want to get that lined up, and the key with this is to keep it square. So when I'm standing behind this, I'm keeping it square. I'm following the line down there. I'd usually have my hand behind it. It's quite difficult here. You know, obviously in the forward position, so it's spinning clockwise. And then I'm just going to move that insulation out the way as well, because otherwise when I go through, it's going to catch the insulation and chew that to pieces and tear it up. And then keeping it straight, making sure it's square. Now, I'll clear that out. And then when I go back in again, I want to use a minimal amount of pressure, because when I go through, it's a good idea, guys, to start getting used to not slamming it through the joist, because you never know what's going to be on the other side. So if you get used to being in control of it as it goes through, you'll rarely hit a pipe, which is obviously the name of the game. So I'm just going to gently tease that through. There we go. And as soon as it caught, I was pulling back on the drill at the same time, which is a nice kind of skill to get hold of. So when I'm pushing, I'm actually pushing but holding back at the same time. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but yeah, that's the only way I can sort of describe it. If I take this camera off, here's the button, here we go. I'll bring this round here, and then hopefully you guys can see this hole. Now, let me see if I can tuck that in there. That hole should be pretty square, it's pretty level in the centre of the joist. Okay, now if I have all my holes like that, as I look through with the camera, I would be able to line up and see all the way through those holes, and it would just keep going and going and going. And that's effectively, you know, if your cable's going through flat, there's going to be less pull on the cable, less rubbing on the cable. Obviously make sure when you've got a few cables going through there, get some cable lube on there, some yellow 77 from Ideal or something. I've always used it. And then yeah, it'll go through absolutely lovely. If you do get stuck for cable lube, I have used washing up liquid before. Hopefully, you know, I won't get chewed too much online for doing that, but worst case scenario, just some sort of soap or something just to help it slide through and not grab. When I was apprentice, turn this round. So when I was apprentice, and not knowing much, my boss said to me, you know, be careful burning cables, be careful burning cables. Didn't understand what that meant. And then one day I was pulling some cables through, and I hadn't realised that I'd been rubbing down the side of a cable, and as I put my hand underneath to grab another cable, or so, I can't remember what it was now, it was like a cable coming out of a switch drop or something like that, I got electric shock. And then when I thought, Jesus, what the hell was that? And I looked underneath, and what had happened is I'd worn a groove through the sheathing of the twin and earth cable as I was pulling over it, and literally that friction had worn that away all the way to the copper core in the middle of the T, you know, in the T and E, and that was exposed. and then I was left in a situation where I had to get to that to make it good, and put some heat shrink around it. So it wasn't ideal. Yeah, you get into a bit of trouble for that. So again, always come clean as well, guys. Don't try and lie and hide about it. And no, electrical tape isn't the done thing either. Reason being, it comes off. Okay, I think that's probably about it for this. If I think of anything else, I'll tag it on. But hopefully that's been of some use to you guys. And yeah, make sure your holes line up. Make sure they're straight. Make sure they're in the centre. And get an angle drill. Doesn't have to be a Festool, any angle drill. Because the other thing as well with this, if you're drilling up through the bottom, say, oh, where can I show you that? Actually, just thought of this. Right, bear with me. Let me just set the camera up again. Okay, stick it over this side. Just about. Adjust the angle. Right, that stud wall over there that I've built actually is so let's imagine that this is a stud wall, any size. This is called the bottom plate, and then obviously at the top you would have the top plate. These uprights tie into that. In the old houses, old school houses, if it's a lath and plaster wall, you may or may not have these. It may be open up all the way through. If it's open up all the way through, I mean, the amount of times that I've just absolutely loved that. Obviously, then you have to deal with the lath and plaster, which is a different issue. And if anyone wants any help or advice on how to put sockets in lath and plaster walls, just let me know. I don't have any lath and plaster walls here, but I can talk you through it and tell you, what I did in that situation. But here I've got the bottom of the plate, which I can get to. A drill like this, you can drop that underneath the floor and actually get that up. Maybe not so much with this actually. Hang on, let's just see if I can get this height down. There we go. So I could actually drill up through this bottom plate. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me see if I can zoom this in. Bring that to here. There we go. So, hopefully you can see that. If this was a bottom plate, I'd be able to drill underneath there and drill straight up into this wall. Okay, and then that way I could feed cables up from here. Where I've got my hole for my socket cut out, I'd be able to put my hole into the plasterboard and then reach down and pull those cables up without having to drill down behind the skirting board or chase down the wall or whatever. And then, all you need is an angle drill. The amount of times that this has got me out of trouble, I can't even begin to tell you. I've got some pictures of some funny angles that I've had to use this drill at to be able to get up through the bottom of a plate or something. And yeah, again, absolute godsend. I've had it where I've actually had to drill this way round. Let's see if I can. There we go. I've had it this way round with that like that, and the extension bar. So I've had the extension bar in like this. There's a bit in the end, and I've had that in a floor like this, drilling through noggins. So you don't have to keep getting floorboards up all the time. One floorboard and you can get to multiple positions just by using an angle drill, an extension lead and an auger bit. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It really is an essential piece of kit for any electrician, possibly even plumbers as well, if they if they're drilling lots of holes. But there you go. Any questions, guys? Obviously in the messages, and I'll get back to you. Take care.